She was the boss's wife, beautiful, untouchable, and perfectly trapped. He was just the driver, silent, disciplined, invisible. But one stolen glance in the rearview mirror shattered everything. Now they're on the run, chased by power, driven by passion, and headed toward a future neither of them planned. Because when the road calls and the cage breaks, love becomes the most dangerous escape of all. The engine hums to life with the smooth purr of control, and Jackson pulls the Mercedes from the gleaming garage, the morning sun reflecting off its polished body. Victoria adjusts her sunglasses with a languid grace, her ruby lips barely moving as she exhales boredom like smoke. Outside, the estate gates open without question, just like everyone in her life. As they glide into the winding road framed by cypress trees, silence fills the space between them, thick with unspoken familiarity. He doesn't look at her in the mirror. He never does unless spoken to, but he hears everything. The sharp inhale before she speaks. The nervous tapping of her manicured nails on the leather interior. The way her perfume thickens when she's agitated. Do you ever wonder, she murmurs, watching vineyards blur past her window, what it's like to be invisible and free? Jackson's eyes stay fixed on the road. I think some people envy cages with velvet walls. A pause. Then a soft chuckle from her, amused, but touched. Touché. They don't speak again until the car reaches a ridge overlooking the valley. Victoria suddenly reaches for the window button, lowers it, and lets the wind whip at her controlled curls. Pull over, she commands. He does. Silently. She steps out in heels not meant for dirt and walks to the edge of the lookout. Jackson waits by the open door, hands behind his back, like a soldier off duty but never truly free. I almost ran once, she says, staring at the sun like it could erase her. Before I married him. Backpack. Cheap wine. Some boy who thought he'd die for me. Jackson raises an eyebrow subtly. What stopped you? Victoria glances back, her eyes scanning him like a secret code only she knows. My mother. She said women like me are born with golden chains. The prettier the cage, the harder to leave. He nods slowly. Some people aren't made to stay caged. She walks past him, too close, the scent of her wrapping around his self-control like a vine. She slides back into the car, leaving the door open a heartbeat longer than necessary. They drive on. Later that afternoon, the car pulls up at the lavish corporate tower. Victoria doesn't move. Come upstairs, she says suddenly. Jackson hesitates. You drive me every day. You know every street I take, every pause in my breathing. You already live in my world more than most people I talk to. Come upstairs. The security guard at the lobby desk doesn't dare question it when she walks in with Jackson trailing behind her. Upstairs, in her husband's penthouse office, the place is empty, the boss in New York for the week. The view stretches across the city like temptation. She pours 2 glasses of brandy, offers one to Jackson without asking. He accepts it, hesitating only a breath too long. Do you think I'm cruel? She asks, barefoot now, heels tossed carelessly aside. No, he replies, voice low. I think you're drowning in silk. She steps closer. The silence isn't empty, it's suffocating, charged. Her hand brushes his tie, smooths it like a memory she hasn't made yet. I'm tired of asking permission to feel alive. Then she kisses him. It's not gentle. It's years of longing poured into a single, reckless moment. He hesitates, his hands frozen in air, but when they fall to her waist, it's over. They belong to each other, if only for this breath, this hour, this damn moment stolen from a world that never looked their way. Outside the window, the sky darkens, storm clouds rolling in. Inside, thunder rumbles beneath skin and silk sheets. Jackson's suit lies on the floor like armor discarded in surrender. Victoria is no longer elegant. She's real. Wild. Shaking. And it's not just the sex. It's the fact that she whispered his name like a prayer when it ended. Afterwards, the silence grows again. But this time, it's different. Heavy with consequence. You know, she whispers, her voice barely audible against his skin. He'll kill us both if he finds out. Jackson stands, adjusting his shirt, composure slipping back into place like armor restrapped. Then maybe, he says, looking at her one last time, we don't let him find out. She watches him go, unsure if it's the end or just the beginning of their most dangerous ride yet. And in the elevator down, he finally looks at his reflection and doesn't recognize the man staring back. Not just a driver anymore. Not ever again. The car hums steadily along the highway. Victoria's fingers trail along the edge of the window, tracing invisible thoughts. The soft jazz plays like a secret between them, its melody winding through the silence that always says more than words. She looks away from the window again, studies Jackson's reflection in the rear view. Controlled. Stoic. But his jaw clenches when he thinks no one is looking. That's where the truth lives, in the muscles people don't know betray them. I used to want to be an actress, she says quietly, almost like she's confessing to the wind. Not just the roles. The whole damn stage. The lights. The applause. The feeling of being seen. Jackson doesn't speak. I was good, she adds. But I got cast in someone else's fantasy instead. Still nothing from him, and that silence draws her forward like a magnet. She leans slightly between the seats, voice softer now. And you? What were you before all this? A mistake, he says without flinching. That stuns her. She blinks, then sinks back into her seat slowly, letting his answer crawl under her skin. Don't say that. Doesn't make it less true. The road stretches on like time refusing to stop. The city begins to blur into wilderness. They are headed nowhere in particular. She never told him to drive anywhere specific. And he never asked. Victoria finally breaks the silence again, voice now stripped of the perfume and polish. Do you think people like us ever get to rewrite the script? Jackson's hands tighten on the wheel. Not unless we burn the old one first. That hangs in the air, sharp and electric. Her phone buzzes. A message from her husband. Where are you? The senator's wife is asking about you. She doesn't respond. Instead, she powers it off and tosses it onto the floor like it burned her fingers. Jackson notices in the mirror but says nothing. I dream about vanishing sometimes, she admits. Leaving it all. No goodbyes. Just emptying out of this life and starting a new one somewhere no one knows my name. You'd miss the gold, Jackson says. She smirks. I'd trade every diamond for 10 minutes of peace. They drive until city turns to silence, and the road begins to disappear behind them. A roadside motel appears aged, quiet, blinking neon against the sky now dimming to dusk. She reaches forward and places her hand gently on his shoulder. Stop here. He pulls into the lot without question. The clerk doesn't even blink when he sees the elegant woman in heels and the man in a tailored black suit check in under false names. Inside the room, the air is still. There's no music. No driver. No boss's wife. Just two people who stripped away their titles and are now left with only the raw, unfinished edges of who they really are. She sits on the edge of the bed and stares at him. If we do this, we can't go back. We already passed the turn, Jackson replies. She walks over and cups his face not seductively, but like someone desperate to remember what it feels like to choose something. Anything. For herself. And when they kiss, it's not lust. It's rebellion. It's a scream they've both swallowed for years finally finding its voice. Later, they lie in silence. No posturing. No games. The ceiling fan clicks above them like a ticking bomb. Tomorrow, she whispers. Let's not go home. Jackson turns his head slowly, studying her in the soft motel light. Then where? She smiles, eyes wet with something that's not sadness. Anywhere we can be nobodies. Outside, night falls completely, and somewhere in a mansion far away, a powerful man checks his phone again. Then again. But there is no answer. And for the first time in years, Victoria is not a wife. She's free. Or at least, she's running for it. Victoria stares at him, lips still trembling from the kiss, cigarette forgotten between her fingers, burning slowly. Outside, the wind rattles the cracked sign of the roadside coffee shop, and the sun begins to bleed into the horizon, casting the world in that golden hour glow where anything seems possible and dangerous. She doesn't say anything. Not yet. Jackson watches her closely. Not with hunger, with gravity. Like her next word might shift the earth beneath them. She looks down at her lap, exhales a shaky breath, then crushes the cigarette in the ashtray like she's putting out a version of herself she doesn't want to be anymore. "I'm scared," she finally whispers. "I am too," he says, but fear's not enough reason to stay. She looks up, and for the first time, her eyes aren't bored. They're alive. "Then drive," she says, standing. They leave the coffee shop without looking back. No check. No apologies. Just the rhythm of two people who've already decided the world behind them is no longer theirs. The Mercedes speeds onto the highway, headlights slicing into twilight. Victoria laughs a real, raw laugh, the kind no one at the mansion ever heard. She leans out the window as the wind tangles her hair. "You know what this makes us?" she shouts over the engine and the rushing air. "Fugitives." Jackson replies, half grinning for the first time. "Alive," she says. "It makes us alive." They drive all night, stopping only when the car needs gas or they need to breathe. At one rural gas station, she steals a hoodie and puts it on over her designer dress. Jackson trades his jacket for a worn-out leather one from a second-hand bin. They look less like a driver and a trophy wife now, more like ghosts shedding old skins. At a dusty desert motel, he parks behind the building, out of sight. She takes his hand this time, leads him to the room. Their hands stay connected like they're afraid 1 second of separation will snap the spell. Inside, the silence is different now. Not empty. Sacred. She strips off the last remnants of the world they left behind and pulls him into her like she's anchoring herself to this one. Afterward, they lie together, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing the outline of her shoulder. "I don't know how this ends," she whispers. "We don't need an ending," he replies. "Only a beginning." But beginnings don't come without consequences. The next morning, Jackson steps out to grab coffee, and that's when he sees it, a black SUV parked across the street. Tinted windows. Engine idling. He doesn't say anything to Victoria. Not yet. He returns to the room, sets the coffee on the nightstand, and kisses her forehead as she sleeps. But the tension in his jaw is back. Later that day, as they cross into a new state, Victoria finally breaks the silence. "You saw something." Jackson doesn't lie. "I think they're tracking us." Her heart stutters, but she doesn't panic. "I'm not going back," she says. "You won't," he promises. "Even if I have to lose myself to keep you hidden." They ditch the car near a canyon overlook and hike down into a dry riverbed where no signals reach. They hitch rides, take buses, cut their hair in small-town salons. She dyes hers black. He shaves his beard. Every mile they change, becoming less and less who they were and more of who they were meant to be. But freedom isn't free. One night, while lying beneath the stars on a stranger's rooftop in a border town, Victoria turns to him. "If they catch us." "They won't. But if they do, I'll take the fall," he says. "You just run." She grabs his face, forces him to look her dead in the eye. "We don't run anymore. We fight. Together." The next day, Jackson sees an old contact, a guy from before the suits and the chauffeur gloves. He trades a favor for 2 fake passports, 2 new lives. He hands her hers across a breakfast booth. It reads, Elena Navarro. She stares at the name like it's a second chance. "You ready to be someone else?" he asks. She shakes her head slowly. "No," she says. "I'm ready to be myself, for the first time." And with that, they walk away. From the past. From the lies. From the trap dressed as a life. Together. Into the fire. Into freedom. Jackson traces slow circles on Victoria's back, their bodies pressed close in the dim motel room where the hum of the air conditioner is the only sound trying to soothe the storm they've ignited. Her fingers curl around his like she's holding on for dear life, afraid that the truth of this of them will disappear with the dawn. "I kept smiling in rooms where I was dying inside," she says softly. "You didn't save me, Jackson. You reminded me I could save myself." He kisses her shoulder, lips trembling just slightly. His strong, but not invincible nod to her. "You don't owe anyone your silence," he murmurs. "Not anymore." Across the city, in a cold, sleek office drowning in glass and steel, Mr. Westbrook watches the footage again. Frame by frame. His jaw twitches as he zooms in on their faces, the gaze she used to give him now resting on another man. A driver. The security guard shifts awkwardly beside him. We pulled the footage from the garage, sir. They left together. No scheduled route. She disabled GPS. Westbrook doesn't speak. He just breathes like a man about to set fire to something beautiful. How long have they been gone? 2 days, sir. Find them. But I don't pay you to hesitate, he snaps. The guard flinches and leaves. Westbrook stays, still staring at the screen where Victoria and Jackson kissed like the world was ending, and maybe, in a way, it was. He picks up his phone. I want a trace on her cards. Traffic cams. Known aliases. I don't care how deep he thinks they've disappeared into. No one runs from me. Back on the road, Victoria wakes up to Jackson watching her, his face calm but his eyes stormy. He says nothing until she sits up and brushes the hair from her face. He's going to come after us, Jackson says finally. I know. He won't stop. She looks straight at him, unflinching. Then we don't stop either. They start moving again. Different route. Different car. Jackson calls in a favor from a man he once served with, a hacker who lives off-grid and erases digital footprints like ghosts. Within hours, their names vanish from most systems. But not from Westbrook's obsession. Westbrook pours a glass of scotch with the precision of a man who controls everything except her. He watches a screen now showing the border. A red blip. A match. He slams the glass down. She wants war, he says under his breath. Then let's give her one. He makes a call. I want the driver. Alive. Bring her to me. Jackson and Victoria sit in a booth, eating quietly. She wears sunglasses, a worn denim jacket. He wears a ball cap, watching the door. Their new names are written on fake IDs inside her purse. You ever wonder what we're running toward? She asks, half smiling. No, he says. Only what we're running from. The waitress refills their coffee, smiling like she doesn't know they're wanted. Like they're just another couple on a road trip that smells like freedom. But then Jackson stiffens. A car pulls into the parking lot. Black SUV. He doesn't wait. Go, he says, sliding out of the booth. They run out the back, disappearing through a dusty alley as men in dark suits enter the diner. Victoria pulls him down behind a dumpster, heart racing, face flushed with adrenaline. We can't keep running like this, she gasps. Then let's end it, Jackson says, eyes fierce. How? He looks at her. We don't disappear. We expose him. Her breath catches. Everything, she asks. Everything, he says. The shell companies. The bribes. The threats. What he did to you. What he did to others. A beat. Are you ready to burn it all down? She grips his hand tight. Her voice is a whisper and a war cry. Light the match. And in that moment, hunted but unbroken, they stop running. They start fighting. Jackson's knuckles are still bruised, dried blood on his shirt collar, and Victoria's eyes are rimmed with fatigue, but there's something fierce behind them now, something unshakable. They step into the sun together, hand in hand, as if daring the world to look away this time. Cameras flash from across the street, paparazzi already sniffing around the scandal Mr. Westbrook failed to bury. Inside, the powerful man sits alone, jaw clenched, wrists twitching. The officers had let them all go too messy, too political, too dangerous to touch. Westbrook watches through the tinted glass as the woman he once owned walks away without glancing back. In his chest, something festers. Not heartbreak, but defeat. Jackson opens the car door for her out of habit, and she smiles softly, gently pushing his hand away. I can open my own door now, she says. He nods, silent pride and pain flickering in his eyes. They drive. No destination. Just distance. At a quiet rest stop off the highway, they sit on the hood of a dusty old pickup they bought for cash from a man who didn't ask questions. The radio plays low an old love song, scratchy with static. I thought freedom would feel different, she says. It will, Jackson replies. It's still waking up. She pulls a folder from her bag. Inside documents. Evidence. Years of secrets. Bribes, offshore accounts, a ledger with initials she hadn't dared to read aloud before. We send this in, she says. To the press. To everyone. Jackson eyes it. You sure? She nods. If I don't, I'm still his. They use a burner phone. A laptop from a pawn shop. And when they hit send, it's not just revenge, it's revolution. By nightfall, news networks explode. CEO tied to corruption, domestic abuse allegations surface amid leaked documents. Wife breaks silence, former chauffeur involved. Headlines swirl like vultures. Victoria turns off the TV, curls up beside Jackson in a tiny cabin they found by a lake. No marble floors. No silk robes. Just peeling wallpaper, cracked windows, and the sound of her breathing without fear. He brushes her hair back. You okay? She nods. For the first time in years. I think I am. But freedom always leaves scars. Days later, a letter arrives. No return address. Just her name in tight handwriting. Inside, a photo of them at the gas station. Someone had watched. Still is. No threat. Just a reminder. Jackson reads it over her shoulder, jaw tightening. They won't stop, he says. She folds the photo, burns it in the sink. Then we won't either. They move again. South. Across borders. Changing names like clothes, rewriting their story one stolen sunrise at a time. They become myth. The runaway wife and the driver who dared to love her. Whispers in tabloid pages. Fantasies in midnight motel stories. But they know the truth. They didn't run. They chose. And in the spaces between danger and desire, they learned what it meant to live unwritten. The mountains rise around them like ancient guardians, their peaks kissed by fading gold as the sun sinks behind the ridges. The old truck groans with every turn, its engine tired but loyal, dust clinging to the doors like memories they refuse to wash off. Victoria leans her head against the open window, hair whipping in the wind, eyes half closed as if memorizing the moment in silence. Jackson glances over, one hand steady on the wheel, the other tangled with hers, rough fingers brushing soft skin. There are no more suits. No more heels. Just worn denim, flannel, and freedom wrapped in road dust and heartbeat. You ever miss it? She asks quietly, not looking at him. He thinks about it, the mansion, the crisp uniforms, the empty elegance. Then he looks at her, wild and unbroken beside him, the way her smile curves without restraint now. No, he says. I only miss not doing this sooner. She laughs, the sound warm, fragile, and brave. Her hand squeezes his. Ahead, the road dips into a narrow canyon, trees flanking both sides, the kind of place where signal dies and silence lives. They stop at a pull-off, the truck idling as Jackson kills the engine. Victoria steps out, boots crunching gravel, and he follows. They sit on the hood, the sky blazing pink and violet above them. In the valley below, a river snakes quietly, like a secret too sacred to speak aloud. You ever think we'll stop running? She says after a long silence. We're not running, he answers. We're becoming. She turns to him, studies his face in the fading light, the lines near his eyes, the scar near his jaw. Marks of a life lived without permission. She traces it with her fingertip, slow, deliberate. I never thought I'd find peace in motion. Maybe peace isn't a place, he says. Maybe it's a person. A beat. She kisses him, then not desperate, not fleeing, but grounded. A kiss that doesn't ask for forever, just this. Just now. They sleep in the truck that night, parked beneath a sky littered with stars. He keeps a hand on her waist the whole time, like even in sleep, the fear of losing her runs beneath his skin. By morning, she's the first to wake. She steps out barefoot, arms stretched toward the sunrise. Jackson watches her from the driver's seat, a smile tugging at the edge of his lips. She climbs back in, breathless. We go west, she says. Why west? Because the sun does. They drive again. New town. New motel. They use different names but the same hearts. In one city, they help a runaway girl find her mother. In another, they leave cash under a waitress's plate after hearing her cry on the phone. The world may still chase them, but now they're chasing something, to a purpose neither of them had when their lives were gilded cages. One night, a man recognizes Victoria. He approaches slowly at a roadside bar, holding up a tabloid with her face printed in shadow and scandal. Jackson stands, ready to shield her, but she steps forward. I'm not her anymore, she says. The man just nods and walks away, whispering to no one in particular. Good for her. Months pass. In the desert, they dance barefoot under the stars. In the snow, they make love in a cabin with no heat, only blankets and laughter. In the rain, they argue and forgive under neon motel signs that flicker like old wounds. And one morning, they stop. A little town, quiet, unknown. A for sale sign on a broken down diner. Jackson eyes it, then looks at her. No one knows us here. She smiles. Let's build something. They buy it with what's left. Paint the walls themselves. Serve coffee and pie. Some customers whisper rumors. Most don't ask. Just smile, tip well, and wonder who the couple is with the tired eyes and the steady love. Years go by. The road still calls sometimes. But they've learned something about roots that they don't kill you if you plant them yourself. And on the days when silence settles soft and safe between them, Jackson will take her hand across the table and remind her, we made it. And she'll answer, not with words, but with a look that says, finally.